Some wars are won not with swords, but with intelligence. To terrify the enemy before killing them. To collapse an army far larger with a single move. History is not only written by the strong, but by the clever. Because some tactics shake not only the enemy, but the limits of the human mind itself. Today, I'll tell you about the 10 most insane, yet most brilliant war tactics in history. If you want more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Aztec Death Whistle, the sound of fear. In the misty jungles of Mexico, as Aztec warriors marched to battle, a sound would rise that froze blood in its tracks. A sound identical to a human scream, echoing from the lungs of thousands of soldiers at once. That sound was the voice of death itself, because the instrument known as the death whistle was made from real human skulls. Each Aztec warrior had to kill an enemy before being allowed to play one, and the forest, filled with the screams of the dead, would break the enemy long before the battle even began. King Goyan's execution tactic. The discipline of fear. In the ancient Chinese state of Yu, King Goyan understood the power of psychology in war long before anyone else. During open-field battles, he lined the front row of his army with prisoners sentenced to death. Before the fight even started, the soldiers were beheaded in front of everyone. When the enemy saw this, they thought, if a king can do this to his own men, what would he do to us? The result? Morale collapsed before a single sword was drawn. Minds surrendered before bodies did. Battle of Pelusium, the curse of the cats. Knowing how sacred cats were to the Egyptians, the Persian king Cambyses II turned that belief into a weapon. He ordered his men to gather every cat they could find and tie them to their shields. When the Egyptian army arrived on the battlefield, what they saw was a nightmare. Holy cats, bound alive to enemy shields. The Egyptians, unable to harm a creature they considered divine, hesitated. The result? Total victory. 50,000 Egyptians died, while the Persians lost only 7,000. And history once again proved that fear can defeat reason. The empty fort strategy, the game of silence. In the 200s AD, Chinese General Zhuge Liang had to defend a fortress with only 100 soldiers. The enemy was approaching with tens of thousands. Liang ordered his men to hide and had the fortress gates thrown wide open. He even placed a few children in front of the gates to play music. When the enemy commander saw this, he said, "This must be a trap," and the entire army retreated. Sometimes not fighting at all is the smartest move of all. The Ottoman night raid on the Maritsa River. In 1364, European powers united to drive the Ottomans out of the Balkans. A massive army of 60,000 men marched toward them. While Lala Shahin Pasha waited, Commander Hachi Ilbi made his own secret plan. He gave each soldier 2 torches, and under the cover of night, they struck. Seeing thousands of lights moving toward them, the enemy panicked, thinking the entire Ottoman army was attacking. As they fled, many fell into the Maritsa River and drowned. The battle was won, not by power, but by intelligence. The assassins, the art of silent death. Hasan Sabbah's followers fought not with swords, but with faith. For them, death was an order. The assassins infiltrated enemy strongholds, killed leaders, and vanished without a trace. What made them terrifying was not their presence, but their absence. They didn't fight on the battlefield, they fought inside the enemy's mind. The destruction of Alamut, moving a mountain. When Mongol ruler Hulagu Khan reached the fortress of Alamut, home of the assassins, he realized climbing up to it was impossible. So he gave his engineers an order: dig under the mountain. The slopes were filled with oil and gunpowder, and then history heard the sound of an explosion so great it shook the earth. The mountain erupted, and Alamut, the fortress thought to be unbreakable, was gone. Hulagu had erased the word impossible from history. Yavuz Sultan Selim, crossing the desert on foot. The Sinai Desert. Neither Alexander the Great nor Tamerlane had ever managed to cross it. But when Ottoman Sultan Yavuz Selim marched toward Egypt, he said to his army, "We will walk for 13 days under burning sun by day and freezing winds by night." Even Napoleon, 300 years later, failed to do what Yavuz had done. His men went mad from thirst and began shooting each other. Yavuz's inexplicable strategy led him to conquer Egypt. Anti-tank dogs. The tactic of desperation. During World War II, the Soviets, desperate to stop German tanks, came up with a horrifying idea. They strapped bombs onto dogs' backs. The dogs were trained to run under tanks, where the explosives would be detonated remotely. But the plan failed. Because the dogs couldn't tell German and Soviet tanks apart by smell, it was a clever but cruel tactic. And a tragic one. Still, records show that a few German tanks were indeed destroyed this way. Tamerlane's burning camels, the victory of fire. When Tamerlane's army faced Indian war elephants, everyone was terrified. Tamerlane ordered the camels' humps to be filled with oil and brush, then set them on fire. The flaming camels charged forward, and the elephants panicked. They turned back, trampling their own lines. The Sultanate of Delhi was crushed by its own beasts. Tamerlane had turned fire itself into a weapon of pure genius. History tells not the story of great armies, but of great minds, because intelligence has always been sharper than the sword, and it has changed the fate of wars. See you in the next video.